source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio is back. A little NHRA Nitro. I'm Joe Castello. We're getting ready for four-wide action in Vegas. The four-wide mini season as we go back-to-back Vegas and Charlotte with a week off in between to decide four-wide supremacy. But then, don't forget, this year, for the first time ever, we'll have four wide in the countdown. I just kind of remembered that myself while I was talking about it. Four wide in the countdown, how that's all going to work out, we have no idea, but it's going to be kind of different here in 2025. We've got a great show for you. I ask you to share the show like I do every week. Like, share the show, guys, because we're going to have a great conversation today. We've got a couple of our friends from Goodyear Tire and Rubber. They've been in the news a lot lately, but there's a million questions out there about tire technology, sportsman tire technology, this whole air deflectors situation. So we're going to speak with Todd and Bill from Goodyear on the show. It's going to be great, and I'm very interested to hear what they have to say and learn about the tire technology. They always say, right, like to keep drag racing going, we need a few things. We need drag strips, we need race cars, we need nitro, and we need tires. And Goodyear doing a great job providing the official tire of the Mission Foods series. So we'll speak with Todd Rogers and Bill Bedont coming up here in a few minutes. Also, Matt Latino, pro stock sensation. This guy goes out there and whoops up on his dad. First round win ever. We got to find out a little bit about Matt, a rookie driver who is a very interesting character. And we're going to talk a little bit about that round one matchup against his dad, where he double bowled his father and wasn't afraid to say he did it on purpose, which I think earned a lot of respect from a lot of people. They were like, most people will be like, I don't know what happened. And he's like, no, I double bowled my dad. His card was faster. And so I had to beat him. So that'll be kind of cool for all the KB Titan folks out there. And we'll talk pro stock. We'll delve into that. Like, what's going on? Can Elite rally? Can they rally? What's going on in Elite Motorsports Camp? We'll get into all of that on the show. And finally, Drag Race Bracket Bonanza's Elon Werner. It's got a lot going on, and Elon is a friend of the show, and we're going to catch up with him on this show. I know a lot of people are very into our Drag Race Bracket Bonanza League, and there's a lot going on. And so I encourage you to play in our league. Now, I'm going to drop something in the chat section right now. This is like my number one topic of the day. It is a link. It is a playlist for Attention in the Pits on NHRA's YouTube channel. Just hot topic right off I'm pitching you. Click on that playlist and subscribe to it. Paul Calvert's 77 Mustang 2 was an awesome stock eliminator car, but you will then have access to every single Attention in the Pits show that has ever been done, like over 120 of them. And you can see all the cool cars in the pits in one place. And I'm pushing it because I want this thing to continue. I want Attention in the Pits to continue. There's a lot of people out there doing car stuff. I want to feature the Lucas Oil Series drivers out there as best as we can. Now, before we get to the Goodyear guys, I want to talk a little bit about a couple of people. I want to name check the people who make it possible, like Bernie's Speed Shop. 100,000 square feet up there in Ocala, Florida. They're buying classic cars. They're selling classic cars, exotic cars. They're doing frame-off restorations. They're doing movie props. They're selling around the world. BURNYZZ.com. Bernie's. Our great friends at HusseyPerformance.net. They're not just copper head gaskets anymore. They do gaskets for valve covers and oil pans and top sportsman, top dragster. They pay a contingency in the NHRA. Go to HusseyPerformance.net to find out more information, not just copperhead gaskets anymore. Of course, FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. Jesse on board. You heard a little bit about Total Seal Piston Rings. Our great friend Randy Neal, CWT Industries, Balance Machines for Machine Shops, and of course, Foggett. We'll go in depth a little bit later, but right now, let's bring on the guys, Todd Rogers and Bill Bedont from Goodyear. What's up, guys? How are you?
Good, Joe. How are you, man?
I'm great. What's up, Bill?
How you doing, Joe?
I'm great. All right. So this is
Appreciate
interesting.
you having us on.
Well, I'm excited about it. I'm excited. Like sometimes it's drivers and they talk about winning, and this is an opportunity for us to learn some I would say, important information about something that maybe we all take for granted, right? These tires, what they're capable of doing, the what's happening on the track, and you guys are here to talk about it. But first, let's find out what you do, starting with Todd. Todd, you are, in sales, but you're an engineer, as I understand.
Actually not an engineer. I have a lot of people assume that a lot of times. They're overestimating my brain power. So I'm just a lot of the sales, logistics, and I work closely with Bill and our engineering staff. I think I have a really good understanding of that stuff, but I'll leave the really technical stuff to Bill and Mike and Joe, those guys.
Okay, it's his demeanor, Bill, right? He carries himself. You hang with the engineers, you start to talk and look like the engineers.
I hope that their brain power rubs off on me a little bit sometimes. That's my strategy.
Excellent. But you're dealing with the nitro teams, the pro stock teams. You're out at every event pretty much, and right in the middle of everything when something involving the tires happens. Good or bad?
Usually good. There's been some more issues recently with some of the center line tearing we see and some heat in the tires, which leads back to the whole air deflector conversation we're having. But yeah, it's a really unique job. I think I spin a lot of plates, and that's certainly not just me. That's Bill and the rest of the guys too. There's a lot of different areas of focus for sure. It's not just one thing for me or for the engineering guys either.
Can't wait to talk about it. And Bill, what about you? You are like technical, special program director, technical director for drag racing and sports cars as well. So there's a lot going on right there.
Correct. So I do everything that's non-NASCAR. So drag racing, sports car, and land speed programs.
Excellent. Excellent. So before we get into a deep dive, I just got to make fun of Todd for this photograph. Like, what is this guy doing, man? He's like trying to be on the cover of something.
I don't think anybody's put me on the cover of any magazines any time lately. So that was a candid. We had a photographer come capture some images in Pomona before our NASCAR race at Darlington this past weekend. So he caught that one of me trying to look like I'm important.
Yeah, well, it worked out. It worked out. No, I got to bust your chops a little bit, of course.
I would expect nothing less.
Right. Exactly. That's what WFO is all about. So let's start off mission statement, Todd, and then we'll talk some tech with Bill.
Yep.
Do you think, we're walking a thin line here because I want to cheerlead for Goodyear. I appreciate, first of all, this is a great American company, Akron, Ohio, been around for a while. I can't remember a day when Goodyear tires weren't the official tire on a top fuel dragster or a pro stock car as long as I can remember. Like that's my entire life. And my dad was always a big fan of Goodyear Eagles. So let's just put it out there like that. So I'm interested in multiple layers of this company, but the fact you guys have been a cornerstone of drag racing is a big deal. How is drag racing important to Goodyear?
It's huge for us. Just like all aspects of racing are very important to the company. From NASCAR to the sports car stuff Bill referenced, land speed, the drag racing. It's a place for us to showcase what our products are capable and what the technology that we have on hand, what it can do. And I think a lot of race fans would, when they see and feel and hear what a nitro car can put the tire through, I think it's a great place to and a great platform to showcase what our products are capable of in an extreme environment.
Technology, like we can do this. So of course we can get you and your family to the grocery store as reliably as possible. Bill, is it just that simple?
Yeah, just that simple. From a technical standpoint, passenger tires and drag racing or other race tires are similar, that they have some similar components, but from a durability aspect in terms of we're not going to have an 80,000 mile sports car tire. Top fuel tires get 8 to 10 runs out of a set, so a couple mile worth of rating. But we do take the technology that we learned in racing and apply that to passenger cars. We use a lot of not exotic materials, but materials that you wouldn't typically see in passenger cars that we learn the advantages and disadvantages of, that we can take and eventually apply to the passenger world. Very
interesting. All right. So the nitro tire, this is and has been a hot topic for a long, long time. What's it like being discussed, but not in the discussion? Like, which I think is so cool that you're here today, right? We're talking about it, but I'm sure you hear your jobs talked about on a regular basis, and this is happening and that's happening, while you're not really commenting. You guys have got your nose down working on what's going on. So what is that like?
Well, a lot of times we've been in the forefront of that conversation a little more recently than we have in the past with the air deflector situation. So yeah, we're working closely with NHRA to understand the air deflectors and the teams as well, and how that impacts things. But yeah, it's a little different for us these last few races, even from the preseason event at Bradenton, getting to Gainesville where everybody ran with the air deflectors, and then into Phoenix and Pomona and Vegas and Charlotte where they have the option to either to run them or not.
Interesting. So let's get in on that. Good thing or bad thing? We'll go like super basic. There's going to be 4 races. I got my first heads up in Bradenton about this. It was a certain, I cannot divulge who it was because, fair reporting, but someone said, hey man, these cars are trimmed out to the max and we still have too much downforce. So we're trying this. And they brought it to NHRA, and NHRA has given us this 4-race window. So we're in the middle of the window now. What is our initial take, Bill, so far? Like, what have we learned? What do we know? What has been accomplished so far?
So we're starting to collect a lot of that data. Traditionally, we have 2 issues with top fuel tires, top fuel and funny car tires. They both run the same tire. And that's either centerline tearing or shoulder chunking, as we call it. On a funny car, we typically don't hurt tires. It's more of the dragsters that tend to hurt the tires. The largest difference, which is significant difference, is the downforce numbers between the 2. They both have the same style motor. The power is applied similarly through the same clutch system. It's just a matter of the downforce that a dragster puts onto the tire creates a lot of energy. Energy is heat, and heat starts to break down the actual compound of the tread at the end of the day. The more that we can keep the heat out of the tire, the better it is. And a difference of 25 to 50 degrees can make that difference in where the tread compound starts to significantly break down versus, being 50 degrees cooler. Funny cars tend not to have that heat in the tire, don't have the downforce. As the dragsters start applying either via the mud flap or the rear wing, because they have the adjustments in the rear wing as well, that additional downforce tends to increase the temperature in the shoulders of the tires, heats up that rubber compound, and the rubber compound ultimately will start to break down to the point where it'll take chunks out of the shoulder, where the biggest part of the tread compound is in the footprint of the tire.
Very interesting. We saw a shot of that. I remember seeing it on our in-venue super screen last race. It might have been Tony Stewart, I don't know, come around the corner. And I think one of you guys walked right over and started taking notes. And what is that process like? You guys, so people understand, you guys look at every set of tires that comes off the track. Am I correct?
Correct. We actually track all the sequence numbers. The tires have an incredible amount of traceability the whole way back through the factory in terms of the fabric that comes in, the rubbers that come in, the physicals we take on all the different materials as they make their way through the factory. And then we follow the tires into the field. We can tell you who bought what tires at what time, at what race. And then we follow them through the life. We know that, if they were ran on this person's funny car and what race conditions. So it's all done by the barcode and the digits on the barcode. And we track all those in a big program, and we can follow the life of the tire, and we can track which tracks tend to be more abusive to tires, what weather conditions tend to be more abusive to tires. And we take that in consideration with the development of tires and try to make the tread compounds more robust, more tear resistant. At the end of the day, this tire has been around since it was introduced in 2016. It's had thousands and thousands of runs put on the carcass, and the carcass of the tire is extremely robust. it becomes a balancing act for the tread compound itself to make it soft enough to allow it to have the performance that it does, but robust enough to not break down through the process of being wadded up and, as it's abused as it goes down the track. The tire's never really round at any point during the run.
So there was one thing, like if in a perfect world, and I'm failing here, it's my job, right? But I would have loved that shot, but we all know the shot. Top fuel car at full speed, and the tire is not round. I would say it's like a pentagon, right? It looks like a 5-sided shape. And to me, that is the most amazing thing that we see. Like, how is that happening? And I don't know if there's a technical term for how it works or why it works, or is it designed to do that? Is that just something that happens? What can you share about that aspect of it, Bill and Todd?
Yeah, I mean, I think that shot you see where the back of the tire is essentially flat, and it's looked like you said, it's an octagon. It's anything but a round race tire that you're used to seeing. But this tire is 3 feet tall, 17.5 inches wide. It weighs 48 pounds, and the power that the nitro cars make, which is, we are lucky enough to see that every week, and you have fans, and that's a really cool part of this job is interacting with new fans and new people that come to the racetrack and have no idea what to expect and are literally and physically sometimes blown away on the starting line. But all that weight, 48 pounds of this rotating mass, and you see it, and that's what creates that flat profile as the cars go down the track and all those really cool pictures we see. Yeah, it's designed to do that. We've learned back through, you mentioned earlier, Joe, we've been in the sport for so long and have such a long history, of the tire wrinkle slicks and how they've evolved. And, and Bill may be able to speak to this about how the tire's designed to wrinkle and start absorbing some of that energy with that squat and start propelling the car forward as soon as possible.
Bill, what about that? Expand.
Yeah, so it's essentially a bias tire. It's extremely floppy. The tire's made to absorb that energy, but with a bias tire, when the car launches, the center of the footprint tends to come up and collapse, which means the tire's primarily riding on the shoulders. This allows for a controlled wheel slip that these cars need. If you notice, they don't just dead hook and move forward. It's all about collapsing the center of that tire, controlling the wheel speed, and allowing the clutch to walk the tire out till it gets out to about 60 or 80 feet, when the centers start to actually re-engage with the track and the shoulders start to lift as it starts to change mode shapes going down the track. We can control that with the fabrics that we use, with the tread weight that we put either into the shoulders or the center of the tire, and all that goes into making a consistent tire that the crew chiefs can tune to week in and week out.
See, that's amazing that it's actually starting off concave for the first part of the track. And then we all know about the tire growth on the top end when they balloon out the other direction and you're really riding on the center of the tread. I didn't realize it was you're using the full tread, but at different times. That is a pretty amazing factor. So, all right, air deflectors. John Collins says, don't call them mud flaps. Don't call them air deflectors. Call them useless. Was his big quote that he dropped. I forget who got that, but we see Brittany and Grubnick, they haven't run with the deflectors at all. Like, they're not using it as a tuning tool. They're like, Gonski. What do you think about the data that we have so far? Are these air deflectors going to be a tuning tool? Are they going to come back? Are they not going to come back? Like, right now, where are we in this learning curve?
Well, go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
I think you're right, Joe. They're a tuning tool, right? In the limited data we've had, we've started collecting data in Phoenix and Pomona. Now we'll have Vegas and Charlotte. Different tracks, different elevations, different air temperatures, right? So the downforce is being affected differently. In Phoenix, not everybody ran them. It was at some points, because of the way the tire reacts and the centers collapse and re-engage the track, you need that downforce at some points to keep the tire planted on the track. But as you get cooler and the conditions become better to go a little faster, taking the flaps off help to reduce that downforce, or even drag in some cases, to allow the car to be freer, let the wheels spin a little more, and apply the power. What we're seeing though is when we take the flaps off, the temperatures are significantly lower, like 50 degrees lower, right? So I mentioned earlier that 25 to 50 degree window is pretty significant, where we start hurting tires and we don't hurt tires. When we keep the temperatures from the dragsters closer to what you see in a funny car, which is significantly cooler, we don't tend to hurt tires. So it's not a foolproof system. Again, only 2 races worth of data, but it's trending towards not running the mud flaps and also not cranking a lot of rear wing into it. Then to compensate for that is helping with those temperatures.
Wow. See, Todd, go ahead, expand on it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's also some discussion around, what's getting the heat out of the tire. Some people, there's the opinion that the airflow is helping let the tire run cooler. I'm not saying that number is 0. I'm sure some more air getting to the tire helps a little bit, but it's our opinion that most of that temperature reduction is from the reduction in the downforce on the air deflectors, not necessarily air running to the tire. Because when we're collecting data at the top end and looking at these tire temperatures, Joey Gorman and the technical folks from NHRA have been looking. They've been utilizing some new tools as well. Always working together really well with those guys. But yeah, we're just seeing, like Bill mentioned, it's drastically lower tire temperatures when we run without these air deflectors.
Excellent. And so Scott wants to know, and I'll get the audience involved a little bit. There's a couple of questions stacking up out there on YouTube, and I ask everybody to share so we can learn here. How is this heat monitored? Like, are they monitored in real time with a temperature sensor? I know cars can run those. You guys are going over with heat guns, but what's the procedure for acquiring that data?
So as you mentioned, a lot of the teams use the infrared and just point the laser at the tire, and it's monitor on the car. We actually use pyrometers, and we poke the tires to take the carcass temperature. The infrared just takes the surface of the tire. We actually take in carcass temperatures, and it gives us a little more accurate read on what the tread compound in conjunction with the tire monitor or the tire carcass is doing.
Excellent. This gentleman, do you have something to add, Todd? Go ahead.
Yeah, we're focusing, like Bill said, on the carcass temperature, where NHRA is capturing surface data, and the teams with some of their sensors, it's just surface temperature. But that's part of us all learning together, is how do those correlate together, from a little more heat in this run and a little less heat there, to see how those surface and carcass temperatures kind of work together, and sometimes kind of throws you for a loop of what you see on the surface versus the carcass, and vice versa.
We've heard for years that these tires are always spinning all the way down the racetrack. They're never totally hooked up, even at 1,000 feet. They're never totally hooked up. This gentleman wants to know, do we know like average slip percentage on a typical run? Is there data about, how many rotations? Is there anything that we could share with the audience to quantify the fact that they're always spinning?
There is, and a lot of teams run front wheel sensors versus the rear wheel drive shaft speed, and they can calculate those percentages, but I don't know that we're at liberty to share those percentages.
Please don't get us in trouble.
Right, but you can see on the tire when it comes, even when you're seeing the tires roll back through the pits, you'll see 2 lines that look kind of like railroad tracks on the tire, and that's where the tire is actually contacting the track at the top end. The lines are probably 2 inches wide and maybe 3 inches in from the shoulders. And that's actually the footprint that's touching the track at 1,000 foot. And the spinning is what you're seeing is actually heating up that tread compound in that area. So that's something that fans can actually see as they're walking through the pits, and see that the tire spinning is affecting the tires.
Excellent. All right, here's one from Memphis Lonnie. He's going right to the point of it all. This is what he goes, I keep hearing the tires used on nitro cars are not, he even puts caps for emphasis, rated for 340. So can you tell me what they are rated for speed-wise? Is it 330? Is it 335? And I think Lonnie might be off on this, but this is a question I knew we were going to get here today, guys. What can you say about the number 340 and how it applies to what you guys think about these tires?
Well, and we've had a lot of discussions about this too, because you always hear this number thrown around. I don't know that we have a particular speed rating. I think even before you saw at Bradenton 2 years ago with Bob Tasca and his run, and then with Austin Prock at Pomona at the end of the 2024 season going, 340, it's our opinion with Bill and I that the tire has probably been 340 even without the scoreboard reflecting it. There's a lot of really talented men and women that drive these nitro cars, but letting off the throttle at exactly the finish line is probably something that's really difficult to do at those speeds. So we know there's some times where guys have driven a little deep through the lights. Again, I'm sure they have a lot going on in the cockpit at that moment in time. So there's probably been some increased speeds of previously before we see that 340 run on the scoreboard, essentially. But no, there's no particular speed rating that we've assigned a particular number to this. Would you agree, Bill?
The DOT doesn't have a letter for these are beyond Z rated tires. So.
Beyond Z, right? Beyond Z. But that was kind of a thing that was thrown out there for a while, when 340 was floating around out there. Now it has happened, at least in a funny car, it has happened a couple of times. And, it all depends on what our goals are. I know our goals are good, safe racing. We want good, safe racing. Primarily, big numbers would be nice as long as we have good, safe racing. And it sounds like with these air deflectors, your primary goal is exactly that: safety, lower the tire temperature.
Correct. If we can take the temperature out, the tread issues that we see with the centerline tearing and shoulder chunking, they look awful, right? But at the end of the day, the carcass of the tire is intact. It's where the different ply endings or belt endings are on the tire. You never see any issues where they start peeling back or anything. So it's the tread tearing from the carcass. It's just, we have such a soft tread compound that we can make it harder. We've done development with making the compound harder. It takes performance away. So we could very quickly slow the cars down by putting on a more tear resistant compound. We wouldn't hurt tires. And the tire would be more durable. But at this point, from a safety standpoint, like I said, this carcass has been around since 2016. It has thousands and thousands of runs on it. And we're very confident in the carcass of this tire.
That is great. Now, Todd, you and I spoke about something like last year, I believe. And I want to, it might have been 2 years ago when Doug Coletta won the championship. We had that failure in Reading that was so well publicized. We had a nice conversation in Charlotte where you educated me about the forensic experience that happens after something like that, where you guys go through a process to collect every piece and reverse engineer what happened. Can you share that? Because I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can share some of the details.
Without obviously without giving up corporate secrets, getting us in trouble.
When we do have this incident, we collect as much as we can. We have a really smart and talented team of folks back at Goodyear that can recreate. They have some really high tech cameras, and Bill might be able to speak to this a little better than I can, but to kind of recreate the run and the incident and try to have a better understanding. Hey, what caused this? Was it a puncture from something on the track? Which NHRA does a great job of providing a clean and safe racing surface, but there's a lot going on out there on the racetrack with a lot of different cars. So that's always a possibility. So yeah, that team that Bill works closely with there in Akron, they have some really amazing tools, and they do a really good job for us.
Bill?
Yeah, so I agree with Todd. After an incident like that, we work with NHRA to get as many pieces of the tire back that we can. And then we have essentially a buck or a mold that we put the tire back together on in the research department. From there, they then start looking to see if there's any anomalies in the tire. We talked about traceability earlier. We can go back through the manufacturing of the tire to make sure everything was within spec, everything was within the age limits that we put to it. And then research starts looking for cuts versus fatigue failures. Fatigue failures look more like something frayed where a cut is a nice smooth section through the cords of the tire that would cause the air loss. From there, they use everything from microscopes to different chirography techniques to go through the tire and make sure that everything's intact. And at the end of the day, they attempt to, say, this tire was cut by a Zeus clip at this point of the track, that they'll match up with the video replay. But we don't always get a definitive answer. A lot of times, because of the damage that occurs after the tire comes apart, there would be numerous cuts on the tire, and it's hard to distinguish what actually caused the before or after effect of the cuts in the tire.
Got it. No, I appreciate that. All right. I know we've had you for a while. 2 more questions, and then we'll let you guys go. This one is one that this guy, he's asking the question, but he doesn't want to ask the question. I'm putting it up there, but I don't want to ask the question. I have a question about burnouts, but I don't want to talk about it because burnouts are cool, which he means, are burnouts necessary?
I mean, burnouts are cool. I think Bill and I will both agree with that. And I think for us, I think a lot of people think the point of the burnout is to generate this great amount of heat in the tire. I think it's more, in my opinion, it's really just to clean the racing surface off, make sure you have a smooth contact patch. I'm sure it is beneficial to build a little bit of heat, but I think really the burnout just cleans that outer layer of the tire off, the rocks and dust and all that good stuff. But you're not going to hear, I don't think you're going to hear Bill or I try to do away with burnouts by any means.
Mandatory. Burnouts should be mandatory. Well, with the throttle wax and everything, we can't lose burnouts, guys. It's a big part of drag racing. But just like the air deflectors, and to me, it's an engineering, not that I'm an engineer either, Todd, but sometimes something evolves into something because of a reason that is no longer applicable. And we keep doing the thing that we did to conquer the situation that is no longer applicable. The air deflectors. Snake breaks them out. They were trying to clean up the air on the car. They didn't have enough downforce way back in the day, et cetera, and so on, whatever. And then you guys are like, maybe we don't even need. It turns out we don't need them. It's better to not have them. Oops. How about that? What a genius.
It's just another tuning tool, I think, Joe.
Yeah.
Again, with the air deflectors, you may see them run a little less rear wing. Take the air deflectors off, then they start putting more rear wing into it. And again, that kind of, it could override the purpose of the downforce on the deflector and still end up putting more heat into the tire. So it's going to be a balance. And that's why I think we're giving it 4 races to try it out.
I love that it's visible to the fans. This one has them. This one doesn't. Yeah. This crew chief is trying to do this. This crew chief is trying to do that. Other than that, every other adjustment is so micro that you really got to have a trained eye. You're looking to see how laid back the wing is and all of that stuff. Whereas this is something that a fan can look at and say, wow, there's a difference there. These guys are going for more downforce for so-and-so reason. I like it as a tuning tool. All right. Sportsman tires. What do you want to say about that? I know a lot of your clients, like you said, there's between 4 and 8 runs for a top fuel tire. There's only so many top fuel tires. Let's give our sportsman friends a little love. I know you guys have delved into pro modified. You guys are making tires for stock, super stock, all of that. How do you manage and maintain those relationships given how many sportsman racers there are in the Lucas Oil series? Yeah,
that's what we referenced earlier. We're always got a lot of plates spinning from stock to top fuel, right? So the sportsman stuff is something we're very passionate about. That's the grassroots of drag racing and where it all started. So we're just excited to work with stockers on a 30x9 radial. One of the smallest rear tires we make is we put as much effort into making sure those customers are happy and satisfied with their product as you might be a pro stock car or a fuel car.
Bill, same sitch. You got to deal with those. Like you got stock eliminator racers, like my used stalker that we just talked with Paul Calvert, a 77 Mustang making 150 horsepower from the factory. He needs to get hooked up every time, and I'm sure has some unique asks as well.
Right. So you just mentioned the 30x9 radial. A radial tire reacts just completely different than a traditional wrinkle wall bias tire. Just a whole different design aspect that we have to take into consideration there. But we do have a small lineup of radials, but the majority is still the biased tire lineup from super comp to pro modified and everything in between. Is still sort of the same basic design. We kind of use the technology from fuel racing and design it into all the other biased tires throughout the lineup.
Interesting. All right.
You mentioned the Pro Mod guys there, Joe. I just want to give a shout out to Justin Bond and all that JBS team, all those guys, Belushi and Jordy. Won the championship with Jordy, working with him last year. So again, big congratulations to him. Those guys have been great to work with. I spent an hour on the phone with Brad Personette this morning. So that's the Pro Mod guys have been those guys have been really fun to work with, and hoping to get back after it in Charlotte here in a couple weeks with them.
Very excited. No, I'm very excited about the whole thing. Guys, thank you very much for coming on WFO Radio and clearing up. I don't know if it was confusion or anything. It's just giving us some vital information about something that we're seeing out there. Is there anything, first Bill, then Todd? Bill, is there anything that we didn't address that you would think we should have addressed, or that you want to put out there while you're here on the show?
I think I'm good. We like to be in the background. The less news about the tires is typically the better the race day for us.
Yeah, no, I understand. Todd, same deal?
Yeah, same thing. It's refreshing to work with the NHRA guys and the teams and us at Goodyear all working together. Like you mentioned earlier, safety is the number one priority. So it's good that everybody's pushing forward in this air deflector conversation. We'll have a couple 4-wide races here at Las Vegas and Charlotte, and then I'm sure we'll all sit down and see where the air deflector talk goes from there. But it's really enjoyable to work with NHRA, the teams, and us to all be moving to pulling in one direction and with safety always being at the forefront of that.
No, that's it. That is the number one thing. And we all agree, and everybody agrees, safety is the number one thing. We got to be working towards that. But if we can accomplish two things at once, that is also good. Put on an entertaining show. Todd and Bill, thank you very much for spending time. I'll see you this weekend. Really excited to see how this plays out. But thank you for coming on to BFO to talk about it.
Thanks.
Appreciate you having us, and safe travels, Joe. We'll see you Thursday.
See you Thursday. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you. Thank you, Todd. Todd Rogers from Goodyear, Bill Bedont. And I feel smarter after having had that conversation. We got Matt Latino, who is coming up momentarily. Going to talk a little bit of pro stock with Matt. He battled his dad. He got the job done. We'll speak with Elon Werner from Drag Racing Bracket Bonanza. I ask you to share the show. We'll be back after
Looking
this.
to replace your OEM diesel particulate filter or diesel oxidation catalyst? Look no further than DPF XFit, a complete line of aftermarket diesel particulate filters and diesel oxidation catalyst designed as an exact fit OEM replacement with all makes coverage for light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks. With thousands of units in stock, we ship the same or next day, and be sure to check out our comprehensive reverse OEM lookup tool. Always new, never remanufactured. For more information, be sure to visit dpfxfit.com. That's dpfxfit.com.
dpfxfit.com. All right, he's joining us now, Mr. Matt Latino, Pro Stock's newest star. What's up, Matt? How are you?
Hey, Joe. That was an excellent choice of advertisement bringing me into your show. I really
totally random. It's a miracle how it happened that way. Really, totally random, Matt. All right, you're a pro stock racer. Your dad has been a pro mod racer.
Yeah.
And now recently moved into pro stock, part of the ownership group at KB Titan Racing Engines. His story has been well documented, and I like your dad a lot. But you've been watching this deal, and now you're in the deal. You're running NHRA Pro Stock. You're the best person on the planet to ask this question: how hard, how challenging, how amazing the experience of driving an NHRA Pro Stock car? Just go. Tell us about it.
I've been saying this a lot. It's not that they're necessarily hard to drive. It's that they're hard to drive well. There's a lot of little things that you don't really realize until it happens to you. In terms of getting in the car, letting out the clutch and rolling through the gears, I mean, anyone who knows how to operate a clutch could probably do that, but it's a matter of being consistent on the reaction, nailing those gear changes, having the appropriate clutch pressure. I mean, I've made that mistake a couple times now where I've rolled the clutch or what they say is cheated the clutch a couple times. It happened to me in round 2 in Pomona against Derek Kramer. So again, I don't necessarily think they're hard to drive. I just think it takes a lot of focus. It is a consistent routine that you need to absolutely dial in on and not deviate from whatsoever. If you can stay consistent every single time, the crew can work with you. You can kind of tune around you. But it's exciting. It's a lot of fun. I like going 200 miles an hour.
Why do you want this challenge of, obviously your dad is KB Titan and so there's pro stock cars available, right? Same with Corey Reed. Like, why? Pro stock cars are available and you guys are drag racers, but to inject yourself and have this desire to inject yourself into this thing that's happening, right? Like that's a certain kind of a competitive drive.
So I love a good challenge. I've taken on a lot of different challenges over my life in a lot of different avenues. This one for me has been something that I've been passionate about for a very long time. More specifically, a little bit outside of pro stock has been drag racing in general. Always loved drag racing. First time I ever ran a car down the track, I was 16. It was my 1964 Valiant, which I still have. I kind of grew up with my dad in the pro stock ranks, and I always wanted to race pro mod. I thought for many, many years, pro mod, I'm going to be a pro mod driver. I'm going to race with my dad. That was when, and if there's any pro mod guys watching here, I apologize, but that was when pro mod was a little more interesting to me. When I say interesting, I mean leaving with a clutch and going through gears. Once all these pro mod guys all switched to trans brakes and automatics, that's when my dad lost interest, and I also started to lose interest in it as well. So when we got more involved in the pro stock deal, initially with Titan and then merging with KB, I saw pro stock as a much more exciting car to drive. As someone, I'm consider myself a driver. I'm a car guy, big time car enthusiast. Love driving manual vehicles. And to me, this was the class I want to race in. But I've got to do it on my own terms. I've got to do it myself. I don't want family money. I don't want, company sponsorship. Our company already sponsors my father. I don't want anyone to look at me like this kid's only doing it because his dad gave him everything. So this was a good opportunity to me where KB Titan has I don't want to call it the arrive and drive program, but you can lease a car. And as long as you can bring your funding, you can do it and stay consistent with it. So I figured now's the time for me to go out. I've built a lot of really great business connections over the years. Now's the time to go out, use some of those connections, try to get some sponsor money and do what I've always wanted to do and drive a car very fast.
That is a great story. And you are helping the company by showing people out there, others, that, hey, like this is something, if you have the resources, that you can do and do at a high level. And you brought on some sponsors early on, like the Air IQ and the Bear Grill and the Atro. And you showed in just a very short amount of time, some sponsor savvy.
Yeah. So I put together like a 3-race package deal with a few companies, Ace Race Parts, Air IQ, and Bear Grill. Bear Grill, obviously, we know Fran from when he was with Commissaro Tequila. He's been around drag racing for a very long time. Like I said, we put a 3-race deal together. It's one of those things where I reached out to a few companies and said, I'm making my pro stock debut. Never done it before. Freshly got my license. I was in the Superstar shootout. I did 1 race. I want you to put your trust in me for a 3-race package deal. We're going to do Arizona, Pomona, and Vegas. After that, we'll discuss and you can decide whether you want to stay in long term. So Air IQ is a business-to-business deal where we did a couple races up front, but continued sponsorship relies on us bringing them business, which we have done for them, and we are close to landing some very large deals with Air IQ, so they'll likely be on the car for more races in the future. Ace Race Parts, we deal with them with Global Emissions. They sell our catalytic converters. They're a go-to supplier of fabrication components in the automotive industry, so they were a fitting sponsor as well. And yeah, just brought them on board to start the trial, and I couldn't be more grateful.
All right, who's Danny Burkhart? Tell me about Danny.
Danny he's a great guy. He comments on every single one of my posts.
That's right.
So Danny is, he owns a company called Iconic. Iconic does wheels, carbon fiber aero packages, and exhaust systems. So we supply Iconic with catalytic converters for their exhaust systems. They do a lot of high-end exhaust, Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren.
Nice. All right, 2 more questions. I know you got a meeting. You got a meeting at the top of the hour, and I want to make sure you get to your meeting. Of course, you're excited about Vegas 4 wide. All right, so first there, are you ready for 4 wide? Are you ready for this?
I've always wanted to race 4 wide. You know, a lot of people talk smack about 4 wide, and a lot of racers will. I don't know why. I guess we'll find out because I've never raced it, but I've always thought it was the coolest thing ever. Why I found out that my dad was racing Pro Mod and we were going to go race in North Carolina, and it's a 4-lane drag strip. I was so excited. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And I was very disappointed when we showed up and they were only doing 2-lane. But I've always wanted to race 4 wides. I feel ready for it. I've watched it 1,000 times. I've seen where people screw up a lot on 4 wide. I feel very ready. Staging and starting line is something that I've always been very comfortable with. Obviously, aside from my mishap in round 2 against Derek Kramer, but I'm very much ready for 4 wide, and not only am I ready for it, I'm excited about it.
Don't overthink it. Like, that's the thing, man. What lane are you in? 2. Okay, look at the second light. Like, people get in this left-right mentality when it's not left-right anymore. It's
and
1,
do
2, 3,
not
4.
go on the 2-step until everyone is staged.
Simple as that.
Yeah,
because not everyone might get staged. Anyway, you'll be fine. All right, racing your dad. Racing your dad. What kind of moment is that for a young man with his father? Your dad is out there. He's a gregarious character. He's running pro stock now. He's kind of a rookie in pro stock also, right? Got about a year and a half, 2 years on you. And now you guys got to square up. First round, we almost made you the marquee matchup, except we had Erica and Dallas, right? So that was marquee matchup. But you guys almost got out there. You double bulb the guy on the stage, and then you trash talk. Yeah, I double bulbed him after it was all over. And of course, he had a big smile. Tell me about this.
I made sure to mention it just in case anyone thought maybe I made a mistake and tried to pre-stage and went a little too deep. That, sorry to say, was on purpose. I let him pre-stage first, of course. I knew that my dad had the faster car. And the only way I was going to be able to beat him, provided that both of our cars would react the same way that they did in qualifying, was going to be on a hole shot. And my dad's a great driver. He's not going to miss any of his shifts. The only way I'm going to be able to beat him is if I can beat him on the tree. And that's what happened. He's a phenomenal driver. I've learned absolutely everything I know from my dad. So if you want to blame anyone for me beating him, you can blame my dad. He taught me everything I know.
We taught you everything you know. So just so we keep this mentality for the future, it's very good when a driver tells the top end reporter, yes, I double bulbed on purpose because I was trying to take advantage of the situation. That is the thing that drag racing needs. And it's bad when people are like hiding their intention. I don't know what happened. I'm really unsure about what was going on.
I'll never do that. My goal in this sport is to be 100% transparent. I don't hold anything back. I want to call things how they are, respectfully, and just do a good job. I don't want to tiptoe around things. I think being a good sportsman is number one. I'm not going to pretend like that's not what happened. But racing my dad that is one of the biggest highlights, I think, of my life, and probably will remain there for a very long time. I've always wanted to line up side by side with my dad. And I know, my mom was a little upset about it when she found out that we were racing, because one of us had to go home and she didn't know who to cheer for, obviously. But I couldn't have been more excited about it. I know it's, like I said, unfortunate that one of us would be eliminated after round 1, but that's something I've always dreamed of, was lining up and racing, not only with my dad, but one day against my dad. So the fact that has come in the very first round of eliminations in my professional racing career is it's like almost unbelievable.
Yeah, you can retire now. It's like a beat my dad. That's it. Hang it up. Blake says, hello, Matt, and welcome to the show. One more thing I want to ask you before we let you go. And you, like Greg Anderson, you get to work with and around Greg Anderson. This guy's a 6-time champ, 108 wins. Yep. He's got all this rep for work ethic, and he's not going to let you hold him down. And now you get to be in and around it. What's your take on Greg Anderson?
I love Greg Anderson. Certainly a role model, and I'm very privileged to be able to work in the same environment of Greg, and not only Greg, but also Dallas and all the other KB team, and Dave Connolly and Nate and everyone on that team is just absolutely spectacular. I try to kind of be similar in the way that Greg and Dallas work. Greg, he doesn't even take his race pants off. He comes back, he's working on the car. I'm trying to do things the exact same way. I've been my own back half guy for the past 3 races. So I look at guys like Greg and Dallas wrenching on their own cars. They know everything about what's going on with their car, and then they jump in and drive them. I'm working on being the exact same guy. I mean, car comes back, under the car, measuring the rollout, wheels off, shocks, tranny. I want to be right in there. Same way Greg's right in there. Same way Dallas is right in there. But it's a great question. Working with Greg and the guys over there, I couldn't imagine doing this without them. I think they've been a key role in I don't want to call it a success in pro stock because I just got started, but I think I'm doing all right for just getting started, and I attribute a lot of that to the guys that I'm surrounded with.
I think that's a fair assessment. You're doing good so far, but we're hoping for a longer career, more than 3 or 4 races, and you've already got a good hot start. And just keep doing what you're doing, Matt. I like it. This is what we need. We need fresh, interesting faces that want to get in there and get their hands dirty and talk a little smack and have a little fun and try to make their own Greg Anderson-like career in pro stock. I appreciate you coming on the show. Obviously, thank you for the support with Jesse. That's your dad. That's not really you guys. You're I'm kidding.
I'm still with the company, director of business development right now.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Do we need to know anything about you get to have a full Jesse informative interview on the show at some point. We'll do that. This is not what this is, though. This is about you beating your dad and getting ready for Vegas, but I do appreciate it regardless.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you for having me on. We'll have to get together after Vegas and talk some Jesse as well.
Yes, but your dad was real hot on the pro stock engine with a catalytic converter that lost no power. I don't know if that, but that's pretty shocking and amazing. But we got to let people know what's up with Jesse as well. We will do that. But I will see you in Vegas. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Joe. Take care.
There he goes, Matt Latino with us here on WFO Radio. Appreciate Matt. Great kid, obviously, to think about competing against your father in your first ever round. That's pretty insane. And he got the job done. All right, guys, share the show. Whoever is in Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, you're not going to want to miss our next guest. That's right. Elon is back. He's the innovator. He's the creator. He's the guy who did the whole thing. We're going to talk about some of the great prizes, some of the good stuff, the WFO League, as we're going into the 4-wide mini season, but we're going to do that after this.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
Foggit is a high-performance fogging oil designed especially for internal combustion engines. Foggit can be used by everyone. If you have a lawnmower, a jet ski, a motorcycle, a tractor, a high-performance car, a classic car, racing vehicles, if it has a cylinder wall, it needs Foggit.
It needs Foggit. Go to Summit Racing Equipment to get Foggit, of course. Gary Stinnett, I was speaking with Gary a little bit. Cooper Chun wins the Spring Fling Million. If you are up on the million, if you want to know the ins and the outs and the what have yous, check out our audio only Ignition podcast. Troy in Oregon was out there, and he was the people that he went there to enjoy, to hang out, to be a reporter for WFO Radio, of course. But the 2 people he were hanging out with both made the final. What up with that? And so we get a really good deep dive onto the atmosphere and the energy of $1 million bracket race, the Spring Fling Million out there in Vegas. And by all accounts, it was high drama, very intense, and Cooper gets the win. Don't quite have a drag race bracket bonanza for the 10-round Spring Fling Million just yet. But maybe in the future, it's something that's possible. Let's bring on the originator, Mr. Elon Werner. What's up, Elon? How are you?
Joe, I'm doing good. Thanks so much. I get that's one of my favorite questions. The Bracket Bonanza is people that are racing other classes, other series that want to have Bracket Bonanza part of their life, and it ultimately comes down to a window of opportunity to fill out the bracket. So, like Pro Mod, I get that question a lot. Why don't you do Bracket Bonanza for Pro Mod? Well, sadly, sometimes they go right from qualifying to 3 hours later eliminations.
Right.
Not a big enough window for people to realistically fill out their brackets. I would love to be able to do a bracket for Spring Fling. My IT guy, Aiden, would probably want to shoot me.
Yeah,
but
they don't ladder the whole thing, right? Like the first couple of rounds are
they don't ladder until the very end. Like,
Yeah.
they get down. So it's a timing deal. But we're looking at, could we do ladders for nostalgia funny car races? Like the NHRA, those are a little bit more structured, and they kind of all start their eliminations on sometimes Sunday or Saturday. That is not.
I'm sure the Extreme Steel Legends Nitro guys would love that.
I'm here for it. So we're open to all ideas. We have the framework, and we're excited. We're about to go into probably, honestly, one of our busiest back-to-back races. Last year, we started the 4-Wide Cup, just like a 2-race mini series. And it is, free to play, dragracebonanza.com. You can sign up, but for the 4-wide races, you actually get to pick your finishing order. So when you fill out your bracket on Saturday night, you pick your 1, 2, 3, 4 finishers, and you get points based on your correct prognostication.
I love it. Now, wasn't there some other bracket related thing going on real recently? Other than drag racing,
we just kind of wrapped up a big thing, March Madness.
March Madness.
That was the thing. And I actually did pretty well this year. Last year I finished 26.5 millionth place, which you can get 26 million people to fill out a bracket one time. We're working on getting, 1 million people to fill out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. That's our next goal.
Well, I have just invited everybody in the chat section on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitch and everywhere that this show goes. And please like and share and write a review, all of those things, guys. But that is the invite code to our WFO league. Now, you've got to get to dragracebonanza.com on your own. But Elon is working on that. But join our league, right? I thought I was doing well in Arizona, but it turned out to not be that great. This is not easy. You'd think it would be kind of easy to pick the winners in drag racing, except it's not.
It's not, because you have upsets like Austin Prock, who's been so dominant for so long, gets upset in the first round. Hyde beats Ron Capps, the resurgence of Josh Hart. You have, in pro stock, it's really a crapshoot. So that's the great thing about it is any given Sunday you could see winners. And we try to help people out with a tip sheet on Friday afternoon. We do all kinds of stats throughout the weekend. We have Bracket Busters. You get a Monday post-race report that's sponsored by Peak, which is really cool. You mentioned your league. There's also the Rodex Coffee Track Challenge. So if you want to join your tracks team, you can earn points for your track, and we're working on prizes for them. But Rodex Coffee sponsors that, which is really cool. There's all kinds of ways to get involved and play. You can start your own league, but by far if you win and do well at the WFO Racing League, that's the top tier league. That league, Competition Plus has a league. There's some other side leagues but if you're doing well in the WFO Racing League, you hang your hat on that, regardless of how the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza universe works. That league, early adopter, appreciate Joe, all the support you did, but the 4-wide challenge is a great equalizer. It's like a 2-race little mini series. You can get hot. You get 2 or 3 options to earn points every quad, and it's really cool. We have trophies for the top.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the stuff here, right? Because like these guys, this is a big part of Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, and in the interest of fair reporting, guys, in case you haven't figured it out, we're trying to get you to join Drag Race Bracket Bonanza and play the game, man, because I have committed to this year. Last year, I confess, once I beat Alan on the show, I kind of just checked out.
Hey,
I did. Because
you win the Super Bowl, it kind of, a lot of guys have down years. I get it.
My wonderful friend for 20 years, we went toe to toe, and then there was the tabulation issue and whatever. And at that point, I decided I'm just going to take a breath and enjoy this for the rest of the year. But this year, I am committed, and people are winning these prizes, man. Like, this is a real deal. People are loving this stuff. Oh, there's Todd Rogers looking GQ. But like, look at this guy from Pomona.
Yeah, Bill is actually a former PR guy from a long, long time ago. He won the overall title, and then also I think won top fuel, which is pretty rare. I was actually worried about that when I started Bracket Bonanza. I was afraid we do the overall prize, top fuel, funny car, pro stock motorcycle. I was afraid we would have like a lot of double up opportunities where if you dominated in pro stock, that gave you enough points to win the overall title. And it really has only happened a handful of times where you get a guy that wins both classes. But we try to get the race winners to sign the plaques, and we try to get them to put really cool sayings on there. Like when Greg won in Arizona, we had him sign his plaque, craziest win ever. And, you know, we've had guys sign, you know, first win, like Paul Lee signed his Arizona plaque, first funny car, you know, first Nitro funny car win. So you almost get a little piece of history. And then
that is a piece of history. It's a piece. If you like drag racing, that's a piece of the event that happened.
Yeah. So if you're a huge Gage Herrera fan, you could possibly go on a chase, because once he won like 8 races in a row last year, we started having him sign the plaques 8 in a row, 9 in a row, 10 in a row, 11 in a row. And then when Chase Van Zandt beat him in Seattle, it was Chase's first win. And I think we may have had him sign it even like, you know, streak breaker or something kind of cool like that. So my goal with the plaques is when you win, you don't have to be present to win. You can win from anywhere. We've mailed plaques to Canada. We've mailed them to Australia. Sign up for free and play. You get an email either Sunday night or Monday morning that, hey, congratulations, you won. Please send us your mailing address. And then I try to get those plaques out as soon as we have the address, Monday afternoon, Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. So they're in your hands less than a week after the race. So, and I appreciate the fans. I had a bunch of extra hero cards from the Bernie's Fan Fest that I'd gathered up. So I've just started putting signed hero cards in with the plaques. So there's a chance you could get a Beckman hero card. You could get a Daryl Gwynn hero card, Dave Richards, Ida Zetterstrom, just kind of a whole potpourri. We put decals in there. And Summit gives us gift certificates. So you can get a $25 or $50 gift certificate. So if you win 4-wide cup, the top 4 finishers get a $50 Summit gift certificate and a cool trophy. So top 4 gets trophies, and then we do the remainder of top 10 gets certificates, and then we do 14th, 24th, 34th, and 44th place get kind of a cool 4-wide cup certificate, personalized certificate.
All right, I just dropped the link to dragracebracketbonanza.com in the chat section. You really should be able to figure it out, guys. But the WFO League, even if you join the WFO League, Dragster Jeff wanted to know, you know, how many people have won the overall and won a class. And whoever's running the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza handle out there, 6 times it has happened that the overall winner has won a class plaque. Like, you guys have got it going on, and I really appreciate that it's family friendly. Honestly,
and
that to me, that's the thing. It's a game. It's a game.
It's a game that kids play, and I've had people come up. Monica, who we're familiar with, plays with her son, and they play together, and it's a great way for them to bond. We have a lot of families that have leagues, so we just love. And the drivers, honestly, are now really they've embraced it from day one, but now they really embrace that the signing of the plaques is part of the winning a race routine. You know, you're at the top end, you get interviewed by you on the starting line, you do the winner's circle, you come in the press room, and one of the press room things is you sign the Bracket Bonanza plaques. And I like that that's just another element of success for the drivers. And having the little mini leagues keeps people engaged. Talking, you know, with Clay Milliken about he won the Winter Nationals and he considers that a major. Well, we do a mini league or mini series with the major races, the Winter Nationals, the Gator Nationals, and the U.S. Nationals. So drivers embracing that is a lot of fun. It's just, I just like it for the exact same reason you said, Joe. Kids can play, parents can play, racers can play. It's totally fine. Sean Reed is playing. I mean, you could beat Sean Reed. There's other crew guys that are playing. It's really just kind of a cool way to stay engaged. And I would love to see Sean Reed's bracket if he would ever. Obviously, he's going to pick himself to win every Top Fuel race, but I would love to see what his picks are for Funny Car or Pro Stock.
Exactly. I thought, when you said you could beat Sean Reed, and I thought of 10 funny things to say, but none that I will actually say, because I like Sean and Robin. Those guys are running real well. I think it is great. I'm very excited. But you don't get to come on the show and not to delve into some other categories,
yes,
right?
Of course.
Let's talk some drag racing.
Yes.
But one more thing, since we're still early in the season, people can get on board. The links are there. DragRaceBracketBonanza.com. 4-wide mini season coming up. But you've got something else, right? Let's spam them with links because you're trying to win. And WFO, we got on the map by helping the Mahalik brothers win the Always a Champion contest.
Okay.
Where they got $50,000. And that we were driving that in our first year or two of WFO. So when it comes to like voting for something, our audience is into it. So I'm going to drop the link for win a telly for Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hull. We are definitely trying to manipulate the outcome of this.
Yeah. It's a People's Choice Award. And it's for Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hull, which is, we did 9 episodes last year. Buddy was a rookie talking about how cool it is to be funny car racers. And there's a award called the Telly Award that's for television shows all around the world. And we submitted some episodes, and the show is a series. And we were shortlisted for the People's Choice Award. So you can go to the link in the bio or follow my social media or Drag Race Bracket Bonanza's social media or the driver's social media. It'll be hopefully everywhere. Just go and vote. Give us 5 stars. Totally free. You can log in through Google or Facebook and all that good stuff. But it's really nice to see this show. I looked at some of the other shows in the People's Choice category, and it's just like it's like every show you could think of. There's nature shows, there's sports shows, there's personality shows. But I would love to see Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hull, the NHRA Drag Racing community, the WFO racing community. Head over there, give us 5 stars. The voting goes until April 18th. You can vote one time and then share it. If and watch the show. You can see all the shows on YouTube. It's just Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hull. You just search that. And it was a lot of fun to hear funny car drivers like Ron Capps, J.R. Todd, Matt Hagan, Paul Lee. We had Billy Meyer on at the end of the season, Jack Beckman, talk about what it's like to be a funny car driver and what they love about that category. So WFO Radio listeners, please get behind it. Give us 5 stars. Check that link out. And we're excited about it. So it's just kind of a cool deal. So every PR guy is just a frustrated TV producer. So the ability to help work with Buddy on the show was a lot of fun last year. We're going to do another season this year. And then we're about to drop a secondary show with Buddy called The World Wants to Know. And it's Buddy driving around with other NHRA personalities in a golf cart at races, just talking about crazy stuff, dating advice, advice they wish they would have taken growing up, a little bit of racing, a little bit of fun stuff, sporting events, concerts, music tastes, favorite teams, stuff like that. So that'll be coming up here in the next month or so.
Buddy's a big personality.
Buddy is a huge personality.
Live Nitro School for the first time out there in Pomona, and it was a big hit. Jonna Dunn was very popular, but Buddy really guided us through the whole thing, and it's very exciting. Memphis Lonnie says, I'd like to see Talking Funny Cars where Buddy interviews like legends, like Jim Head and Jim Dunn and Beetle. Well, Beetle's not Beetle. He's not going to.
Beetle would be tough. If we got Beetle, that would be
awesome. Would be very tough, Memphis Lonnie, but I'm in for it. That would be great stuff.
Yes,
Fast Eddie said he just signed up, and he's now part of the WFO Bracket Bonanza League.
Way to go, Fast Eddie.
Good luck, Fast Eddie.
Yeah, so we Jim Dunn's on the list. Jim Head's on the list. we talked to Snake. Snake is just really, honestly, he's a pretty cool guy. I mean, I don't want to say he's too cool for talking funny cars with Buddy Hull, but that's a big get for us. We've talked to Courtney Force, we've talked to Ashley Force Hood, so there's a variety of funny car drivers out there, and some up and coming people like Spencer Hyde. I'd love to hear with what he has to say. So Megan, thank you very much. So we're constantly kind of mining. Jeff Deal would be a guy I would love to have sit down with Buddy, because they're big guys, and it's the big guy funny car discussion is very funny because they're dealing with things that J.R. Todd and Austin Prock and don't even have to worry about.
Yeah. Deal is a huge person. I don't know if people understand that. I've had to stand next to him. It's like holding the mic up like that. It's like
I'm a big guy. Like, I look at Jeff Deal and I'm just like, I would never get in someone's funny car, but I bet I could get in Jeff Deal's funny car and fit pretty comfortably because we're about the same size guy. So, all
right, here we go. Getting ready for 4-wide mini season. We've got 3 races under the books. We're going to start off in Pro Stock, as we just heard from Matt Latino, and you just heard Matt Latino's interview. So you're going to warm into it. Greg Anderson and Dallas Glenn have made all the finals of the season, including the finals last year. Greg Anderson has been in every final since St. Louis last year. Is this going to be a rout of a season for Greg Anderson? Is he going to just dominate the year?
I think so. He's 11 round wins away from 1,000 round wins. There's one other driver that has 1,000 round wins, and that's John Force. And he did it in 2008. So I think Greg is in that sweet spot that he was a couple decades ago, where he just laid waste to everybody. I see the only person that's really going to have a hand on defeating Greg Anderson is Greg Anderson. Sometimes he gets a little ahead of himself. Dallas Glenn has obviously got, a yeoman's job of trying to beat him. But then also you look at guys like Matt Latino, Corey Reed. I'm not going to discount Aaron Stanfield or Erica, but the elite guys they're working through some things. And this is a year where, the countdown could really derail someone's dominant season, whether it's in Top Fuel or Pro Stock. Is that you could have I conceivably could see Greg with a 400-point lead over second place. And then that evaporates to 30 points, maybe 45, depending on how he does in the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty, getting those championship points. But, Greg, I think until we see differently, or Dallas, no one's going to stop those guys. And the 4-wide race, I think, plays right into their hands. Dallas has had success in Vegas. Greg's had success in Vegas. But Erica's got Vegas magic too. And I think that's a place where you can get a lot of things out of your head because you're so comfortable and you've had success there, and you can just see what happens.
I like it. So the rumor mill, the just under the surface conversations that are full of false information and conjecture, right? Yes. Those conversations are all about Elite Motorsports and what's going on there, and they're working through some things, and maybe they got some things figured out, and maybe we're going to see it this week. And you mentioned Erica's Vegas magic, and I'm very curious to see if this just continues as we think it's going to continue, or you may recall last year the roles were reversed. Greg Anderson and KB were on their heels, and they ended up winning the championship. So you can't count out Elite Motorsports.
No, you can't. And also it's scenarios like this that really get me excited about the countdown. Without the countdown, potentially seasons like this, Greg could get on a tear, and this Pro Stock season could be over in St. Louis or Dallas. And while we'd love to see someone win a championship at the Stampede of Speed, that'd be great for the pomp and circumstance. You really just kind of want your season to last as long as possible. And everyone knows what the deal is, so you can't be butthurt if your points lead evaporates. But it doesn't it's not an easier pill to swallow.
No, it's absolutely brutal. Going to be very interesting. Right now, I do want to mention that the Patreons, WFO Radio Patreons, patreon.com/WFO Radio, got a new Hear It From Heiner, Michael Heiner Pro Stock Show episode yesterday. Yep. In the episode, he gives his assessment of what's going on with Greg Anderson right now. And I never pull clips from the Heiner show because it's kind of for the Patreons, and I want them to just know it's a big market.
That's the benefit of being a Patreon.
Right. But sometimes we got to give a sample. This guy gives an analysis on what we're about to experience with Greg Anderson that is top notch and kind of in line with what you have to say, that this guy could be at his best that we've ever seen right now. Get ready, buckle in, watch out. And if you don't like Greg Anderson and you hate when he wins, but you might not like it, but you better learn to love it.
Yeah. Oh, can we talk funny car real quick?
Well, we're going to do each category. We're going to talk funny car
right
right now, where Jack Beckman leads the points over Paul Lee. Paul Lee, who's some news, has got the folks from Conquer Paralysis Now on board, and the Driven Nouveau Research Centers are going to benefit from the relationship. But Paul kind of reaching out and doing some altruistic stuff with the charity. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Paul's one of my. I learned so much from Paul when he did the Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Holt. I was the person in charge of keeping the clock for that episode, and we wanted to keep the segments at about 7 minutes. And Paul started telling stories about him coming up in racing and watching Jungle Jim and his whole backstory, even beyond the heart attack and being a professional poker player. I got so drawn into him talking that I looked down and I had not stopped the show for like almost 20 minutes. They just went. And the things, Paul, to see Paul finally get a Nitro Funny Car win, I mean, that was to be there when someone achieves a lifetime goal. I don't care if it's drag racing or quilting or, track and field, whatever, was really cool to see Paul reach the top of Everest and have the points lead. And now he's got a car that's running really good. And you've got John Medlin and Johnny Lindbergh. I'm excited because while Beckman is leading the points, I think everyone was prepared this year for JFR to kind of come out with Austin Prock and Jack Beckman and run away from everybody. And I don't know if that's truly going to be the case. Now, they could get really hot and tear off 6 or 7 wins in a row. But right now, I feel like, Paul Lee's got a great car. Beckman, Austin Prock, Spencer Hyde, Dan Wilkerson made some good inroads at the Winter Nationals. J.R. Todd feels like his program's coming around, and you still got guys like Tasca. That's a quality program that they're going to figure the stuff out. So I think Funny Car this year could be really, really exciting, with Matt Hagan in the mix and their commitment to excellence. It's just going to be really interesting to see if anybody can get a toehold and get some traction and, get on a run.
Yeah, I agree. Daniel Wilkerson, again, I never root for a person because I'm totally neutral out there, but good stories. And so the Beckman story was a good story, but the back-to-back first-time winners was also a really good story. So we had a wealth of blessings for us out there, and it was pretty cool. Stephen Frisky says, if not mistaken, John Force was the last person to win the championship at the Motorplex in the late 90s. Can you confirm that is true?
Yes, that is he wrapped it up one year, and then also I think Gary Selzy wrapped it up one year when I was there when he was driving like in the late 90s. It's kind of one of those deals where he needed to win the race. But yeah, so it's that was fun times in the Motorplex when you could have that championship clinched. Probably one of the more famous championship scenarios is that 92 race between Cruz and Force. This is the 40th year of the Motorplex, by the way, coming up. So there's going to be a lot of historical stuff coming out. We're excited about the Stampede of Speed. We'll be announcing concerts for the weekend before that, but lots of 40th anniversary.
You can't just tell us now, like all the details.
I'll be very honest. Christy Meyer Johnson told me the bands, but I did not write them down, so I don't know which ones. Some of them we know, but we can talk about. Some of them we don't know, or we know, but we can't talk about. So I don't want to misspeak. But again, we did 90s country, we did Texas country, we did Nashville country. So there will be acts that are Lady A, Tracy Lawrence level.
This year we're going with death metal.
Death metal country. New Norwegian death metal country will be the headliners for Saturday night.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, folks. I'm excited about the Stampede of Speed already. We were just talking about it. Some of our WFO listeners have already purchased their tickets for the full 11 days. How
Love
about that?
They reckon that their fill of Joe Castello, the voice of the Stampede of Speed.
Too much.
Impossible.
Right? Dugenet out there. So you going on with Dugenet tonight? I love Dugenet.
I am.
I like.
I'm making the rounds, getting the 4-wide cup, getting the lead
the
off.
car wash.
WFO Radio, then Dugenet, then Comp Plus, and I'm trying to squeeze myself into the Wednesday podcast that Wes Buck runs.
That's good. Dugenet Bland, good guy. I like the fact that he is coming out of the mainstream stick and ball sports world, and torpedo bat world, and loves drag racing too, kind of coming at it from a different angle. One thing I do want to make you aware of is that I am trying really hard this year to not acknowledge what I would call, like you mentioned, the countdown and why I love the countdown. And, there's that whole 10% that doesn't like the countdown because they like it the old school way. Same with the people who don't like the 4 wides, right? I'm not acknowledging that opinion anymore. It's my new thing, right?
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Just like you want to talk about the distance we race. Okay. I'm not really that concerned about it. I'm here to watch the racing that's being presented for me because it's incredibly exciting and there's great personalities and we're seeing amazing performance numbers.
I yelled at somebody on the social media the other day. Like, you're just asking this question for attention. That's really all it is. It's like,
clickbait. It's clickbait.
I know I can get 1,000 comments on a question anytime I want if I ask the question. All right. Top fuel. Let's talk top fuel. Downside. Some short fields here and there. Cyclical. It's just the way it is.
It's just weird. And I guess there's just not that many West Coast top fuel teams to kind of help. And we've just had some weird timing deals. Like Tony Schumacher's not racing to start the season yet. There's, once we get east, you got the TJ Zizzos of the world. Some of the guys that used to race top fuel, like Joe Morrison, have switched over to funny car. But yeah, short fields suck. There's just no other way to put it. It's just, and I vacillate between, I would like to have 16 cars there to see a full ladder, but I want to see 16 really good cars. And there were times when we had 16 or 18 cars and really only 6 or 7 of them were really quality cars. Now we're getting legitimately 14 quality top fuel dragsters. So if you're number one qualifier, you get a bye to the semifinals. That kind of stinks, but you got to, once you get to the semifinals and you're looking at Brittany Force and Doug Coletta and Sean Langdon and Tony Stewart, and they've all won world championships, and Tony Stewart's looking for his first win, and Josh Hart's program's turned around, and Clay Milliken's winning races. You got personalities like Ida Zetterstrom out there. It's quality cars. We just need to get the quantity up just a skosh.
All right. I floated an idea last night on the Ignition podcast, which is audio only, folks. Apple, SoundCloud, wherever you get it. It was just, I just flinged something at the wall. I thought about it. I'm a purist, right? Like, I am a traditionalist. I like 2-wide drag racing, but I've adopted the 4-wide because it's great presentation. It's amazing track, but I'm adaptable. So I'm not totally rigid. You got 18 funny cars. You're going to send 2 home. You got 14 top fuel dragsters. You don't have 2. You got 2 extra. Would it be so crazy to stick those DNQ funny cars in with the top fuelers and just see what happened?
No. And I'll be honest, Joe, that would move me closer to, I think we need 1 nitro class. I think that would help our sport in the long run on a variety of fronts. Just figure out a way to get them running a little bit closer together. Or if you want to have a starting line advantage, you could run funny car because you're a skosh slower. If you want to just, but to me, getting to 1 singular nitro class wouldn't be a terrible thing.
It's like sacrilege to say it, but sometimes you got to say the thing. Like, Galileo is like, those things are moving.
But here's how I would do it to make it even more potentially better for the teams is you have a 32 car field and you run the first round on Saturday night. And you basically, if you have 16 top field dragsters and 16 funny cars, or however it works out. But if you're short, then you can kind of go to your idea of the hybrid of, okay, we got 14 top fuel cars and we got 18 funny cars. Okay, your number 1 and number 2 guys in funny car, or it could be random draw, whatever it could be. But I think that would make it very exciting for TV, for the fans, get more people racing, create a whole Saturday night vibe of 32 nitro teams battling it out to race on Sunday. I think it could be really, really cool. And
there are no bad ideas. We're just kicking things around. We just took the sport and we shook it up. But I just, we've got 14 and we've got 18.
Yeah.
Something.
I agree. And let me tell you, at the Pro Superstar Shootout, seeing Top Fuel go against Funny Car, very cool. The Winston deal that Force won 2 decades ago, amazing. I mean, that it can happen. It just, hey, sports have to evolve. We have to change the baseball league sometimes. We have to get rid of the chain gang, even though the chain gang is still going to hang around, that's got to be an even cushier gig when you're just like the backup. That's not going to be the best seat in the house as NFL guys now. We don't even have to walk out on the field. We're just going to hang on the sidelines. In the event the computers break down, then we'll get our chains out.
Break down. I hear that the MLB is ready to adopt robo umpires.
So late to the game on that. They've needed that. That technology has been there for so long. I don't want to get rid of an umpire, but there's just egregious sometimes.
So this is off topic, but we're both sports guys, right? That the players union doesn't like it because the catchers that are really good at like framing pitches, and that's a skill and talent, like that talent kind of is diminished. And so like those catchers will not be quite as necessary for their framing ability because the robo umpires, but I digress. All right. Top Fuel. As far as domination, like I am really feeling a Sean Langdon, like
I'm getting 2013 vibes.
Bursting off, the Lilliputians are on him. All of these things that have happened, he and Brian Usen and those guys burst out and have a tremendous season, the likes of which we would not expect to see.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for Sean. I'm also excited for Brian Houston. I mean, that's a guy that's been partnered with Alan Johnson for so long. Now he's on his own, really, showing his skill. But Sean, 2013 was an amazing season for him. And now it's been over a decade that has been the famine. He had the feast in 2013. Now he's been battling through the famine and kept grinding and kept doing the work. And now he's being rewarded with a great car and a great crew chief with a great team. Doug Coletta also, I think that whole Coletta operation right now has probably never been all three really aligned for massive success than they are right now. And you've got guys like Clay Milliken that I'm really excited about Clay's championship opportunity. I don't really know, when Tony Schumacher is going to come back and kind of what that will look like as far as that team. Josh Hart showed tremendous flashes at the Winter Nationals. As a stat guy, I was even stunned to hear how long it had been since he'd run in the 3.6s. And we're overlooking guys like Justin Ashley and Antron Brown. I mean, these guys are championship caliber teams that, Top Fuel has been super competitive for so long. That's been the one class where you go into the last day of the season and there's 4 or 5 guys or gals that have a shot at winning it. And I think that's going to maintain itself. And I think that field is only going to get deeper as we get closer to the end of the season. And then you have this whole air deflector thing, which I really don't fully understand. But if it's, going to make the competition more exciting.
You clearly missed the beginning of the show. I completely missed the beginning of the show. All your questions would have been answered. We had the guys from Goodyear on.
I saw that.
The whole thing. That was the whole thing.
Well, anyway, the great thing is
the temperature of the tires, basically.
The great thing is that people are just now tuning in to hear me drone on is you have the ability when I'm done talking to go back and watch the entire show from the beginning, which I actually will do because I caught a little bit of the Matt Latino action. He's a great interviewer. He's a great rising star in the sport. But you can go back and you can watch the show anytime you want. Just hit the Google. Go back and watch all the WFO radios.
Even on PowerTube TV, who has just brought back the show Pinks with Bruno as
Massel.
the host. It's incredible. Bruno Massel, speaking of rising stars. Like,
is he the Ryan Seacrest of drag racing? Is he the Ryan Seacrest of drag racing?
Like, now he is. Before,
I really think
now, yes.
He's got the looks. He's either like the Ryan Seacrest / Michael Strahan of, like, this guy's everywhere. And I love it because he has so much knowledge, such a good personality. Just really cool. I'm super excited for him. I mean, I never really was a Pinks guy, but I'll give it a watch because Bruno's involved.
So Rich Christensen was on my XM show years ago, and he was actually a good guy. He told me that he worked his whole life like being a TV guy, trying to come up with one hit, and he never hit. And then finally Pinks hit, and it was like the biggest deal in his life. And he did a great job, but I think it's going to be tough shoes to fill. But I think Bruno has got what it takes, because Bruno, unlike Rich, is a real, like, hardcore drag racer, 4-time comp eliminator world champion. That's something next level that I don't think people understand. But he's still going to have to bring it in Pinks. And I would never do that, just so you know, never do that. Like, race for my car, Project Pontiac. Yeah. Hey, I just worked my butt off. Let's race. No way. That's crazy. All right, Elon, final thought. You got anything you want to put out there before we let you go? Blake wants to know who do you got to win and the 4-wide this weekend. I don't really do that, but for Blake, you could do it.
I will do it for Blake. I will say, again, full disclosure, Josh Hart's one of my longtime clients. I love everything about Josh Hart's program, the things he and his wife Brittany do for the local Ocala community. But I like Josh Hart to win this 4-wide. He's done well at the 4-wides. He's reached a number of final quads before. Give me Josh Hart and Top Fuel.
All right. That's good. That's a bold prediction if that comes in.
I am going to go. I think we're going to get a first-time Funny Car winner. Give me Dan Wilkerson in Funny Car. And my dark horse is, and this is true voting with my heart over my head. If Buddy Hull can get out of the first quad, you never know what can happen with 4-wide. Jim Dunn, they've got that car right on the edge, and I think that this is a deal where they could potentially go a couple quads with Buddy Hull. And then in pro stock, it's going to be all Greg Anderson all the time. I think you could see a final quad of all KB Titan Racing, and it could be a deal that's won on a triple hole shot type situation.
Vegas, baby. We're going to have a big crowd. That's the thing that matters to me. We got crowds now in the spring race, and it's in Vegas.
Amazing.
It is amazing. All right.
And it's also Vegas, and hopefully, knock on wood, we get done a little bit early, and we can maybe, get some good food, get a cocktail. So Piero's on Sunday.
I love that.
Italian.
Well, don't reveal where we might go.
Worried about stalkers?
Yeah, well, or people to take the last remaining seat at the bar. You never know.
Hey, I've got to,
Hey, Joe, you were right about this place.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Enjoy your wait. No, thanks. All right, Elon, great job.
Hey, Joe, thank you very much. And just encourage everybody to sign up for Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, vote for the Telly Awards. And then also, if you're not a Castello Patron subscriber, you're not getting all the inside scoop.
You're not. He's right. Like the stuff that we hear about in the Patron secret show.
Yeah.
And now there's discussion of like another layer of secrecy, like, national security clearances. You're going to be like the potential for another layer, but we'll talk about that in the future. All right, Elon, great job. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Elon Werner. He's going to be doing the car wash. So if you watch Dugenet or the Competition Plus Power Hour or Wes and those guys on Wednesday, you're going to see a lot of Elon. But, I feel like we bring the best out of Elon, my opinion, right? But, Dugenet, hit him, ask him about his tiki experience. Ask him about that. That's not for me to ask. That's for you guys to ask. All right, guys, final comments in the comments section as we get ready to get out of here. But I think it's been a very informative and illuminating show is what I think, that we learned a lot about Goodyear, Tire and Rubber Company. There's one for you. Like, I'm just going to freelance for a moment. Like, there's all this talk. There's all this talk out there in the world about America and American jobs and American manufacturing and all this pro-America stuff. And I'm all in support of all that. All the way back to the 80s and 90s. My friends used to hate me. They really used to, because I was the kid who would like, well, that car, that kind of stuff. And people thought I was an idiot, like initially when Walmart, became a thing and people were like, oh my God, it's so cheap. I can get the prices so cheap. And I was like, that's not a good thing. So I've been singing the same song for my whole life. Goodyear Tires, Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. You support drag racing. They're involved in drag racing. Like you can buy tires, and there's all these different choices. There's a million choices of tires. Where are you going to get them? Where are they made? And you can figure that out. That's up to you though. That's your choice that you're going to make. On the Patreons, patreon.com/WFO radio. That is the link. We get new members every now and again. I know it's not for everybody to pay a monthly fee of your choice to join the secret society. But once you're in the secret society, you get to hear all the Michael Heiner dishing on stuff. You get to hear Monday Motivation. I tell you my hopes and dreams and fears, all of that stuff. You get to know some things behind the scenes, but really you pay the internet bills is what's happening. You're helping out the show. Patreon.com/WFO radio. But good stuff going on there. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. Frank and Atlanta Hawley have been such supporters of WFO radio, and it's been amazing to watch as they train pretty much every next level top-notch driver in the sport. Think about Jack Beckman, who was an instructor, and he goes out there, and that Frank Hawley thought process. It's amazing. Like Frank was hanging out in the tower in Gainesville, and we were just chit-chatting about various topics. But I'm like, hey, Frank, what do you think about caffeine before you drive? Right? Because I had just had a humiliating experience with Project Pontiac, and I was not up for the round. And what could I have done? When I'm not up for something midday, I have to get myself a little Rodax coffee. 817-924-6821 to mix sponsorships. And he gave me a very well thought out answer about caffeinating, not caffeinating. For the regular person out there, though, the dragster adventure is what you want to do. You want to go drive a dragster. Keep it simple, keep it fun, keep it moderate when it comes to expense, and figure out whether or not you actually like the feeling of acceleration on a track. The Dragster Adventure, they come to you as well. FrankHawley.com. Now back to Rodax, 817-924-6821. Marvin Rodak is a wonderful person, a Renaissance man. He's down there in Fort Worth, Texas. Tools, tips, information for grilling, amazing grills, all of that stuff. But it's the coffee and the habanero endorphin booster hot sauce that keeps me coming back. Call Marvin, 817-924-6821, and order yourself some coffee. You want to think about American businesses. Now, he does import a lot of coffee. That's a big hot topic with the coffee, but you can get the Kona coffees from Hawaii. You can do that. Rodax, 817-924-6821. Of course, you're really helping the show when you buy a can of Foggett from summit-racing-equipment.com. You will use Foggett on so many things, even if you don't have a high-performance racing engine. But that's what I'm using my Foggett on. The inside of Project Pontiac and the cylinder hone and the finish, because I know what it's like to let a car fall into disrepair, and it will never happen again. Foggit, available at Summit Racing Equipment. Elon Werner with I call it a bold prediction about the Arnell Carriers team and the Bernie's team and the David Davies team. We got a great relationship with Josh Hart. 500 days since runs in the 60s. I mean, even the Australians are running in the 60s now. Just kidding. We discussed that heavily on our Ignition podcast. Congratulations to the Australians. It's really a major milestone. I know I'm off topic on the sponsorship, but major deal. First run in the 3.6s for the Australian drag racing community. Go and listen to the full report on the Ignition podcast. We had a great show last night. Notice I didn't promote 2 weeks ago's show. Last night I'm heavily promoting because I felt like it was really good. We had Krista, who won the Sudom, who won the Bakerfield March meet, and then went to Tucson in the Heritage Series and won the 7.0 Pro class. We did a winter interview with her. Great, great stuff. But I digress. Bernie's, 100,000 square feet, Ocala, Florida. If you want to do a frame-off restoration, they are the pinnacle. They are the pinnacle. buying, selling cars. You want to sell a car on consignment, they can do it. They sell e-bikes. They're doing great things in the community. But back in the 3.6s, very important. HusseyPerformance.net. David Allen and the team. Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. 412-716-4872. This is for all our top dragster, top sportsmen, top alcohol, funny car, and dragster teams out there. These guys are making gaskets for everything you've got. Oil pan, valve cover gaskets, header gaskets, using USA-based material. Think about it. And it's not just copper head gaskets anymore. They've got very quick turnaround times. So you can order it up and it's on the way nearly immediately. And it's all made in-house in Beaver Falls, PA. Reach out to David Allen. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio. And we really appreciate these guys as sponsors. Of course, FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters, the Power Glide and Torque Converter and Project Pontiac. Third run down the track, 1090, FTIperformance.com. Amazing stuff. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Matt Hartford gave us a tour a couple of episodes ago. Moving into aerospace, Total Seal Aerospace. A lot of big things happening with Total Seal. Jesse Converters, Matt Latino, big appreciation to Matt. And of course, CWT Industries, Randy Neal and the company, balance machines for machine shops. If you've got an old balance machine, you really need to upgrade. CWT making the best in the business. Easy, intuitive, easy to use, easy to train, work fast. WFO gear is on sale. All right, enough swagging. Let's see what you guys got to say. So let's get some final comments in the comment section before we bust out of here. So we broached a hot topic, like the traditionalists say the thing that nobody should ever say. Single nitro class that runs on Saturday night would kill Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. Yes, it would. That is true. It was just a thought. Just a thought. Instead of that Byron, let's just take the two funny cars that DNQ'd and not let them, no points or anything, but let them stage up in top fuel against the cars that would get a bye run. Just for the fans. Something weird that happens when there's a short field in one and a deep field in the other. Now, I know that many people hate this idea. Not all ideas are winners, but some you got to talk through them. That's all. Because so many people have said they hated the bye runs. This guy politely disagrees. You can't have a delayed tree. I agree with the delayed tree. That's the problem. And can you make Top Fuel and Funny Car run the same? Is there any precedent for two unequal machines being made to run equal by the NHRA Tech Department? Like, I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't like that. Like have the Top Fuelers run on one mag and have the Funny Cars run two mags, and they're both running like, mid 380s. Traditionalist me doesn't like it, but you gotta think about it. Daniel Wilkerson is out there. I knew I loved Elon. When are you coming on the show, Daniel? When are you coming on the show? You are the only one who can make this happen, Daniel. You got to win your way on, Daniel. We all want it to happen. We all want it to happen. Spencer Hyde. No, you're on whenever you want, Daniel. Spencer Hyde seemed to go after that first round win. I'm excited to see Graham Rahal performance colors on JFR cars this weekend. Graham was very cool down there on the starting line. I've had 2 interviews with Graham, one at the Gator Nationals where we asked him about the whole speed is the fastest kerfuffle. Like, so Graham, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, I knew I was going to get it from my family when they put that out. And then the second one is Graham Rahal performance. Makes sense to me. The drag racing community versus the IndyCar community. I think the drag racing community is doing more performance mods on their cars. I think. Let's see. Blake likes the picks. Memphis Lonnie. What's the deal with Camry Caruso and Sienna Wildgus? Are these ladies racing this year or what? I don't know the information on either one of them. I know I can speak comfortably saying that Camry is working hard to get back out. I don't know about Sienna, but I know that Camry is trying very hard to put together the resources that it takes to come out here. It's just very, very challenging. Let's see. Kara, great show, Joe. And I see on NHRA TV, my bucket list is going to a 4-wide, hopefully soon. 4-wide is great. It's just a different. You know, like sometimes you go to your favorite restaurant and you order something that's not your favorite meal just to do something different. 4-wide is a little different. It's a different day. It's a different experience. There's pros, there's cons. There's one round fewer, but you get to see what it's like for 4 cars to go off at the same time. You can have a triple hole shot. It's just different. Embrace the different. Have a great show. See you at 4-wide next week. Dragster Jeff. Sudam. Didn't I say that right? Sudam. Sudam. Krista Sudam was on the show. We did this last night too. Thank you, Dragster Jeff. Joe, I would love for Dugenais to have you on his show. I think you will ask him to invite you on the show, and I will comment on his show tonight. Oh, thank you, Blake. No, Dugenais and I are in a blood feud. He never has invited me on his show, and so we are a blood feud. Megan says, great show today. No, that's not true. None of that is true, guys. I love Dugenais and his sports radio takes. And how about the whole drag racing media ecosystem? You got to do that when you say ecosystem. I think it's pretty cool that we got a lot of shows. It's almost as if all day long you could be listening to drag racing. You got Brian Loans with the NHRA Insider. Wes does his show. I do my show. The Life's of Drag guys. I'm working on them. I've got a secret plan for the Life's of Drag guys that I will not reveal until I reveal it. But Power Hour, Monday Morning Racers got some great takes. You know, these guys are paying attention. There's someone that I didn't mention that's doing a show. There's some new shows out there, people that I don't even know who they are. That tells you drag racing is on the move. Good things happening. Been a lot of conversations. Hear from Heiner. Guys, the Patreon show. Yeah, you got to pay. That's the thing, man. Heiner decreed. Wants to be behind the paywall. But if you love Pro Stock, you're a very special person. Talk about niche audiences. Don't worry. Thank you, Dugenais. He's gonna have me on at some point this year. You know, pre-countdown, like that. I was the first exhibition run of 4-wide at ZMAX. I think I was 10. It was really cool. I was there too. I was there for the first. I think I was. Yeah, because that was the first race. 2010. Yeah, it was at the first race at ZMAX. Boy, that's terrible when you can't even remember the great stuff you've done. Oh, well. All right, guys, appreciate it. Thanks to Matt Latino. Thanks to the Goodyear guys, Todd and Bill. That is an interesting topic. Air deflectors. I like seeing them used as a tuning tool, but we'll see how it all works out in the end. Appreciate everybody. See you in Vegas. If you're anywhere near there, get out there. Let's go racing. All right, guys. Check out the archive. Hit it up. We'll see you next time right here on WFO.